there's the personal why and then there's the bigger why. And if I have to start with the bigger why, let's go there. The bigger why is, well, what about those who need it? Like every single person listening to this right now,
Nick Diamond, my friend, community leader, and set the standard, fellow brother, smashing a breath work with the people. For anyone who doesn't know Nick, he's a really close friend of mine. We've done a bunch of one-on-one coaching for ages. One thing that I love about Nick is that he took life by the balls. He was working in a real estate job. I'll let him share the story in a minute, but he was essentially like working in there. All ego was flared home, but get the money, get the money. And then he was like, fuck this. I love helping people. I'm going to get into breath work and some trauma and stuff that ended up finding it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to crush this as well. And he's been a community leader in the Set the Standard community for a while. He's helping change men's lives. His breathwork starting to, breathwork business is starting to tick off. And it's not like Nick as well, just to like let everyone know, he did like a breathwork from not any really new school coaches, someone who's been studying it for like 40 years. He did his breathwork certificate with them, and it was a 12-month process to get that certificate. And I'm pretty sure they're not running them anymore. So Nick was one of the last people who got this insane breathwork knowledge, which is why he gets so many like good results. And I, for one, am super excited. I was telling Nick before this, I was like, Nick needs you to come fly out. One, so we can crush on work together, and two, so that you can breathwork me to the moon, because I'm ready, baby. And yeah, so Nick, thanks so much for coming onto the show.
dude, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome and the little pump up.
Yeah, bro.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Appreciate you, man, and appreciate your presence and all
My
things you do
God.
in the community and what you're doing to serve everyone. So
Thank you.
I would just like love to know just the story and the journey on essentially how you come to quitting your fucking job, taking a pay cut, and just chasing your dreams and your passion, man. Because that shit lights my soul on fire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, it was a big journey. It was a very big journey. How it all kicked off was starting to work on myself more so than anything, starting to become more self-aware. Um, where do I begin? Where do I begin? If we're to track it all the way back, the whole real estate thing was um, directly related to, I guess, the way I grew up and like chasing, financial accolades and external accolades and trying to, become accepted in the world, via the mechanisms of like making money and looking a certain way and status and fancy watches, fancy cars and having all that stuff, you know what I mean? And that the whole process of, I guess, uncovering more of what I really was, breathwork being always in the picture because I had been doing that for a few years for my own like healing journey anyway, and that was sort of always in there helping me along the way. Being mentored by Julie, who certified me, and then engaging in yourself and being in the community with the guys and getting some coaching and sort of diving into knowledge got me towards that a little bit more. Just to go straight to it was the belief of I have to do successfully. I have to be successful financially to have my dad's acceptance, and have that whole there was that whole perspective that was there.
Hold on a second, Nick. It's
Yeah,
just
basically
cutting out.
all of those.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Hold on.
Ah.
God damn. Hang on.
Okay, cool.
Let's start from you were in real estate for the money, accolades, the watches, the
Yep.
cars.
Where I was at. Yeah, got you. So yeah, once uncovering, I guess the relationship that I had with my dad that had caused me to think that I had to, be accepted in the world by being financially successful and things like that, and leaning into the discomforts of healing those relationships and essentially just shedding the skin that was limiting me, I was able to see myself in a different light. And basically, what had happened was I had taken on my breathwork certification while being in real estate, just because it was the last one she said she was ever going to offer. So Julie's like, hey, I'm going to basically be doing my last one. I've been doing it for so long. I'm getting a little old now. Like, I don't think I'm going to want to do it again. She's writing a book at the moment. She wants to finish writing her book. So I was like, yeah, fair enough. And I was like, look, I'm just going to say yes. I don't know why I'm saying yes. I'm in real estate at the moment. My career is actually going really well. And it was going really well, really fast. So I had no intentions to leave real estate. And I was like, I love the work in breathwork. I'll just do it and see where it goes. So yeah, basically that commenced in, I think it was like March last year, and it started, and there was so much learning in that, and even more healing for myself. And as I got closer to the end of it, which was November last year, I just had this moment where I was like, do you know what? This is what I need to do. Like, this is my calling almost. It was just this pull. It was uncomfortable because I was like, how am I going to make money out of this whole situation? But because I had just dealt with the with the belief of having to attain money to feel something, I saw my purpose far, far greater. It was clearer. It's like, no, this is what I have to do. Like, regardless of where I'm at financially, and regardless of where my career in real estate's going, and things like that. And I think, funnily enough, man, like, it was when I had come to Gold Coast last year in November where this all had ticked off. I reckon it's literally a year, like this week or so, the 25th, bro. What are we? It's the 22nd. So we recorded a podcast this time last year, and I was still in real estate, and I was in that process of what I was going to do. And yeah, I literally just built up the courage, and I spoke to my principal at the time last year, and I just said, look, I'm going to be moving on. It's like I kind of just have to chase this purpose of mine. Like, I have to give this back. I saw what it did for me. I saw what breathwork did for me on so many levels for so many years, where it got me. And then when I compounded that with coaching and putting myself in a community of men to help me through even more of what I was overcoming and how I was growing, just made me realize, like, that's what I had to do. I was like, this is it. This is what needs to be done. So yeah, I ended up, it was a big conversation because my principal was kind of like, are you sure you want to do this? Because like, not going to talk figures, but in the time I was there, I had done pretty well considering how fresh I was. And then my projected income and my projected, like, database is what we call it, and how things were looking was exceptional. Like, I was walking away from, honestly, a sure thing. Like, I could have easily sat and been like, in 2, 3 years, like, I'm so set, like, financial, I'd have an assistant, like, I'd have everything that I would love on the outside, but I'd be dying on the inside.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was
yeah, I
gonna
kind of,
say. I was gonna say, well, then why? What? How do you feel now that you
now,
changed?
honestly, man, holy shit. This year has been a journey and a half, just because it's like I've just had to skull drag myself through so much shit some days, working jobs that I didn't think I'd ever have to work again, jobs that I hated, um, like working in warehouses and working up until midnight so I could get up in the morning and, like, work on the business and take a client, and, like, doing all these little things, and, like, you're still working out and trying to look after my health. It's like, it's just not what I guess I had expected, but I just knew that it's like I was like, I got no choice. Like, I can't go back to doing what I was doing because, like, I can't unsee what I've seen in my past, So, and this whole process then was, helped me really overcome drug addiction, and, like, really diving into the drugs and the partying and the alcohol and things, this journey, um, this year just made a difference in all levels, you know. Um, and then also putting myself in environments, like I said, the community, having guys around you that are calling you out on your shit, firstly, and they're helping you grow your business because they're all doing the same kind of thing. So it's, surrounding myself with those types of people and becoming the person to surround myself with those types of people by making the decision I made by really leaving real estate last year. Um, it's been the biggest year of growth this year for sure. Been the biggest year of growth. Like if I'm to literally sit back now and think about where I was a year ago, uh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I feel aligned though. That's the thing. I feel like me,
Mm.
and I don't give a fuck. Unapologetically.
That's so cool, man. Because I know there's a lot of people would like, would think, why do that? Why go through the trials and tribulations? Why do the working the late nights, the early mornings, the clients here? Like, why go through all of that when you could have had a sure thing, money in the meantime?
Why?
Yeah, people will be thinking, why? They're like, why would you do that? Because you're taking less of a pay, all the rest of it, you got to struggle.
Definitely.
So like
Definitely.
people ask questions like, why do it then? Like, why do it?
There's two things. There's the personal why, and then there's the bigger why. And if I have to start with the bigger why, let's go there. The bigger why is, well, what about those who need it? Like every single person listening to this right now, in my opinion, has a gift. Everyone. There isn't one person that doesn't. Like that's no. Everyone's uniquely gifted and special in their own little way. It's just how daring are you to let yourself be curious about the gift that you're feeling or that you may have, to then actually give it back, because people need it. Like the world needs it. The world needs your gift. So that's why, if I hadn't done any of that work and quit real estate, like my gift would be completely and utterly like suppressed, and I'd just be a little cog in a machine and just making money. The personal, why is because I got so clear on who I was, and I started to understand myself so deeply and clearly, my values, what I will stand for, what I won't stand for, that I had no choice but to lean into that. It's like when you start to know yourself that little bit more, it's very hard to go against what you now know.
How did you get clear? Like
How
on
did I get clear?
how did you get clear on who you are? Like,
Sure.
because that's the big thing, right? To really understand who you are. And
Yeah.
just looping back to everyone listening, it's like what's so important here is just understanding how important knowing who you are is, and that it
Yes.
drives your decisions for your career. It drives your
Yes.
decisions for your relationships. It drives the decisions that are mistakes. It drives decisions that make you healthy. It drives all decisions that make you a better person. And we can spend all the time in the world doing a business course or getting a uni degree or getting something else. But I think it all
Yep.
means shit if you don't
Yep.
know
Yep.
who you are. Because otherwise, you might be taking a path that's on a trajectory like this when you were born to be on a path that takes a trajectory like this. And you're choosing this and all the struggles, wishing you were going like this, and instead you're just cruising like that. So how did
Cruising.
you?
Yeah.
I think it's so important. How did you get clear on who you are?
Okay. Three things. Firstly, I started to question everything. Question myself, question my beliefs, question my thoughts, question my needs and my wants, to be able to understand if the life that I was living was actually what was true for me. Because there was a lot of pain in all of that with the way I was living. Something didn't feel right. It's like there's that part of us sometimes that knows that we're just not doing what we need to be doing, or we're not doing what we should be doing, or we just feel out of place.
So you listen
And in
to your
those
intuition.
moments, yeah, it's intuition. That's where it starts. I don't think anything can happen without our intuition, um, because then that's what leads on to the other two things I'll touch on. But the intuition's the big one, 100%. It's like, well, this isn't right for me. Then I need to ask a question, or ask questions that I don't normally ask myself. And then by doing that, you're going to have a different dialogue, a different conversation. And, that had been happening to me for many years, before, diving into where I am now. But it started a long time ago. Second thing was finding breath work 3 years ago. Now for anyone listening, it's rebirthing is it's the technical term for it. It's not just like breath work, it's rebirthing breath work. But yeah, coming across Julie and working through a lot of my my traumas, my insecurities, my lack of trust of myself and in myself and in the world, and going through processes like that helped me understand myself more, and helped me understand my fears and my pains and how I can use them for the greater good. And how that there were, there were stories that I had played out in my head that weren't necessarily true for me, and I was creating a life based on the stories I was telling myself. And then the third thing is wanting to seek out further guidance and wanting to grow more and wanting so deeply to be better that I put myself in an environment of other like-minded people trying to do the same thing, i.e. the Set the Standard community, our community, reaching out to you, getting coaching from yourself, doing the work, doing the program in our community, doing that type of work, reading books, to really start to understand more of myself again, and that was the process, because it has to be active at the end of the day. We can't, I guess, just want to know ourselves and then do nothing about it. To get to know ourselves that little bit more, we're going to, well, I'm just speak for myself. I put myself in environments that was going to require another level or a different person to understand what was happening. And that's where everything sort of came clear.
So cool. What about,
Yes.
because that's like so tangible. So what were the things that you personally experienced inside those three categories where you had moments where you were like, holy shit, I've grown, I've learned this about myself? What were the things that you learned about yourself? So it's like, what were the catalysts? Just on a flow of a question, how those things ended up, like what you actually learned from those things, and then how did you apply them to make a shift?
That's a very big question, man.
It's
Yeah. Okay.
more just like some stories and how they impacted you now, of like
Stories.
the specific catalyst moments.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking for the listeners, I'm like, if I was listening to this, I would really want to be like, well, like, what did you do? Like, how did you do it?
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, hell yeah, we can go do things. Or like, what can I go and do like now from what you've mentioned?
Yeah, for sure. In the three categories that I spoke on before, the breathwork and obviously the course content and the coaching, that's where everything happened. Now, stories within that were the three that so the thing that breathwork will do for you and what it's perfect for is it will uncover situations and information for you to be able to understand them better. Now, I'm going to just send some clarity on all of that. So for me personally, a lot of the things that I did in my journey were the sessions were bringing up traumas, that were bringing up parts of me that I had repressed and suppressed for so long.
Like full memories,
that
hey?
Yeah, so there's memories, of course, so definitely repressed memories that were so painful when they were experienced. They stay there. So, the brain will do anything it can to protect you from feeling pain again, because like we're trying to survive and pain is not survive. So the brain will do that in any traumatic experience. So that's the tangible thing that I was doing for a lot of the time, was having sessions. Now, each of my sessions were very different, and each session is different. But being able to uncover traumatic memories, and almost relive those memories, allows you to re-experience that memory and that situation in a way for you to be able to attach a new meaning to it. It brings it to life instead of sitting in the subconscious, unconscious parts of us, where it's still dictating what we do, just without us understanding why. And that was a big part of, that was a big part of my growth, because what was happening was each time I was having a session and uncovering something about myself and my past, I was starting to connect to myself in a way that was extremely like whole and loving. I started to accept myself for who I was. I was starting to feel good about who I was, and I deeply started to forgive myself for all of the things that I thought I had done wrong. And by default, when anybody can go through that process and start to heal those parts of themselves, they will start to make better decisions and start to create a better life for themselves because they know they deserve it instead of think they deserve it or that they think they should be doing it. It's coming from a place of knowing and a place of like actual wholeness where they're like, no, this is what I need to do now for me because this is going to be good for the greater good. This is going to make me a better person for my family, my friends, my relationship, and those types of things. And, the trajectory changes. Another tangible thing is reading books, man. Like that was a massive thing. Reading books has been a big thing and in understanding how to being a guy, I'm speaking now in the masculinity sense, but harnessing healthy masculine traits, sorry. And that was a big part of the process too, where I was like, okay, I got to start harnessing some more discipline. I need to start getting clearer on my values. And whatever, those turned out to be is what I lent into to create more of what that was.
Have you got any specific examples of stories of when you got stretched?
Where I got stretched. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is relationships, in my opinion. The people around you, the people around me, was the biggest thing, and having to confront certain situations with my closest family, and having hard conversations with them about things in the past and about the way I was feeling about them and the relationship, um, was definitely me getting stretched. But I knew that for me to be able to continue on the journey that I was on and to continue growing, I had to have these big conversations. I didn't want to be harboring any resentment or any negative emotions towards anyone in my life because I was the one who was holding the emotion, not them. So having some big conversations was another thing. And then like overall discipline in almost every area of my life. It's like sometimes it's very simple, but these are the biggest things that create. Sorry, these are small actions that create big like big results, and it's simple things like having good sleep routines, making sure you're eating right, making sure you're training, making sure you're consistent, and setting myself expectations that I'm going to meet, so then I can start to build some respect for myself, integrity. And I think that there has been one of the biggest things for me because the more integral I became, the more confident I became, the more opportunities I created, the better people I met. I'd be able to hold space for others better because I was able to hold space for myself. And, we start to then give and receive in this really beautiful flowing way with everyone around us.
Yeah. So what was it look like for you when you were like unintegral, you weren't doing the right things and you were
Yes.
feeling insecure? Like
Yep.
what were all of
Sure.
those insecurities, all of that
Yep.
shame that you
Sure.
had? Like what were those examples? And then
Yeah.
how did you get out of them?
Yeah. Binge eating was one thing.
Oof.
You know,
What that
binge
look like?
eating. Oh,
Fucking
bro, just having no like acting on impulses. Being possessed in a moment where there was absolutely no consciousness in relation to me eating food, and then it'd be like, oh, like you just eat. There is
dude,
no
dude,
thinking. You just done.
dude, I swear to God, men don't even know they're binge eating.
Oh,
We're just like, oh, just eat until I'm full. We'll just fucking eat anything if we're hungry. And it's like
bro.
when we're mindful of it, it's like we're fucking binge eating, man. We're poisoning ourselves with the amount of food that we're eating.
Yep.
I was like binge eating for years before I even realized that I was even binge eating. I just thought I was hungry. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get a fucking tub of Ben and Jerry's, 3 packets, 2-minute noodles. I'm gonna smash bag of chips. I'm gonna put like sauce on bread because I'm just fucking like whatever it is, get it in my mouth. Didn't
Yep.
even realize that the next like
Yep.
3 days while I was fucking tired was because I binged it. And I just thought I was eating. I was just thought I was
Mm-hmm.
hungry and consuming.
Mm.
So crazy.
Bro, yeah, I totally agree because I was the same. Like I didn't think it was a problem. I didn't think I was like you're possessed by it. It's like you're just
Wasn't even a
possessed by
label, man.
this. Nah. You're just like, this is normal, you know. I'm just like eating, I'm just gonna train and I'll be all right. Like, yeah. It just doesn't make sense. So there was, that whole process, and then going out a lot, drinking a lot of alcohol, doing drugs was a big thing as well, binging on drugs and going through that whole process, um, like watching a lot of porn, all of the impulsive emotions and the impulsive actions that a lot of people experience. I was consumed by them, like I had no control over them, and I couldn't understand why. And every time I'd give in, I'd feel guilt and shame, and I'd be like, see, you're a piece of shit, like you're no good at that, you can't stop yourself, like you're not going to be any good at anything. And like,
Yeah,
I
then
had
the
a
only thing that makes you feel better is to just do more of the shit.
yes, dude, yeah, do more of it, 100%, or look for the next thing, and like look for the next thing. So, yeah, taking control over all of the impulses and just getting clear on I guess who I wanted to be, the life that I wanted to create for myself, and the people that I wanted to impact. And I think, that was the part of my purpose in regards to, you know, doing the breath work and doing the certification and helping people through that process and being a community leader. It's just like knowing that to hold space for other people and to help them overcome their own things, I have to consistently overcome my own stuff. I have to make that my purpose, to consistently overcome myself. Um, and I would say over 12 months, that's probably been the biggest thing that's changed a lot, because of the amount of now respect that I have for myself. And all of those little things, what happened was it led into me communicating better with other people. I was secure in myself. I started to feel better about myself. So because I started feeling better, I was able to communicate my emotions a lot better. I was able to regulate my emotions a lot better. And then by default, I was able to create better relationships with people, and they would feel safe around me, which means that they would be able to have a good interaction, or they would be able to get vulnerable if they needed and have a conversation that they normally wouldn't have. So, one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, and it just sort of all compounded. Where then, my business started to not sort of, my business started to do better. Staying consistent with content, staying consistent with my diet, staying consistent with my clients. And then like it's this thing, yeah. It's a consistent cycle. And don't get me wrong, I fall off here and there. There are days where I make the mistake and I'm like, oh, I've done that. But the key is to just understand that it's a moment in time and that tomorrow's another day, and you just go again, and it's moving the needle forward slowly.
So powerful, man. So if
Yeah.
anyone wants to find you, if anyone wants to find you,
Yes.
because I'm going to give them a challenge in a second from you. If they're looking at like doing
Sure.
some breath working, some breath
Mm-hmm.
work or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
like where can
Mm-hmm.
they find you, Monsieur Nick?
Sure. So on Instagram, you can either find me on my Connected and Conscious page, which is Nick_Connected and Conscious. So that's my breath therapy page. Or you can find, my other page, which is directly connected to Connected and Conscious, which is Nico_Diamond. It was a personal page, but it's not necessarily anymore. It's more so just like a me page through Connected and Conscious. So either or, the content's all connected to each other. So you can definitely find me there and get in touch, follow my content.
Sweet, awesome. And I'd love you to leave a challenge for people who are listening to this.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why this just came to me so quickly. The challenge is going to be, with wherever you're at the moment in your life with the relationships. I challenge anyone to have an extremely difficult conversation with someone very close to them that they know they need to have and are avoiding to have.
Why is it so important to have difficult conversations?
Okay. Two things. Your own healing is in that conversation, firstly, right? And secondly, what comes from that conversation, only God knows. And you have to trust that. And what comes from that conversation is exactly what you need. It may not be what you think you need, but it's exactly what you need, and you're not going to know until you do it.
The level of surrender, hey? That's why it's so
Level of
scary.
surrender.
I will have
Yeah.
this conversation. what the fuck's gonna happen? It's all just
Yeah.
unknown. So I don't want to do it.
Yes.
So we're challenging
That's
you,
the reason.
do that shit.
You
So
literally do it. Lean into that
literally
discomfort.
do it. I just want to highlight as well, just like, your transformation, your fulfillment, you're connected to your path and your purpose. Some of it has been done in our community, and I'm extremely proud of that. And just thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for leading, and thanks for being here and learning what we're learning and leading by example, man.
Bro, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for leading the way for me too.
Yeah, it makes me feel really good, man. Like seeing
Thanks, brother.
you and the change that you're on, even though it's like, if you change real estate and you're chasing this path and there's more challenges and it's harder and it's grit, it's like
So
that's
much
that
more.
fucking tough shit that you get to talk about, 5, 10 years from now. Like I was in there before I made it, before I crushed it in this area because I was so
Yes.
consistent with what I want to do. Like there's no backing out.
Yes.
Like, I know I can see you're
Uh,
just going down that path regardless of what happens. Like
Bro, yeah,
this is the way I'm going and nothing can stop me. Like it's the best.
honestly, yes. The key is just the surrender bit and faith. I just have complete faith. That's kind of it. Like recently, the biggest thing is I've just handed it over. I'm like, it is what it is. I'm just gonna keep doing my bit, and whatever happens, happens.
I love that, bro. Thanks for coming onto the
Yeah, man.
podcast.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you.